Hello, everyone. Before we start today, it's hard to get by what happened in Las Vegas last night, and our thoughts and prayers go out to everybody, out there associated with or connected in any way, shape, or form. And there's a lot of people who are associated or connected in some way or shape or form to a victim or somebody close to this whole concept. It's a terrible, terrible thing, and we really, are thinking of you guys today for sure. It's hard to even get up and work today. It was very difficult just because everyone, we're really thinking about it. So we hope everyone's okay.
I will say there is a hockey angle. The UNLV assistant coach for the hockey team for the Rebel hockey is right now in the hospital.
No, really?
Yeah.
Jeez.
So we do hope he pulls through. And so that is the hockey angle of it that I know of so far.
Yeah.
Well, the other hockey angle is, and I don't know whether they open on the road or at home, but it's going to be, I'm saying the debut of a franchise in the wake of this tragedy. I don't know whether anything has been thought of. Maybe
I looked at this. I was trying to figure out. I think they opened on the road actually.
I mean, that's good in a sense because, I mean, honestly, if the opening of their season was on Wednesday, I would think that the league would say, let's push that to later on in the season and give mourning and the whole situation a little bit of time, because it's obviously going to cast a pall on the city of Las Vegas for this disgusting event that happened.
Yeah, they open in Phoenix on Saturday.
Okay.
And then I think they come home.
Wow, that's the season opens on Wednesday. I'm surprised they wouldn't be playing.
I didn't see anything before that. And then their first home game, I'm pretty sure this is right, is Tuesday. They're at home. I don't think they play on when I looked a couple times here.
Okay.
Oh, I do have a complaint for ESPN for their fantasy leagues. I'm signed up to way too many. There's no way I could ever do a live draft for all of them.
Yep. But
when you get a team that drafts you, Kari Lehtinen and Andre Pavlik as your goalies, something is wrong with the computer model.
They want that's not wrong. They want you to lose, is what
they do. There's no coming back from this.
Yeah. No, you're right, Ak. They start on the road in Dallas on Friday, then then Arizona on Saturday. And the home opener is against Arizona on next Tuesday. So that's very fortuitous. That
I remember being upset about this before, is why I remember it, because I thought they should open at home, but in turn, it turns out to be the best thing that could have happened, because you definitely don't want to be opening at home right now.
Yeah.
The city gets itself together for sure. Tomorrow, by the way, speaking of fantasy leagues, the Hockey Buzz Fantasy League's up right now, and it's really a fun league. I definitely recommend getting a team into it. There's a free league. It's a free league to play. There's also, if you happen to be a season ticket holder, which is really cheap and like $20 a year or $3.99 per month, you can get into the league that has just slightly better prizes. But there's a free and there's a paid league as well.
And Cap Central is completely up to date, with even up to the signing of a certain Czech future Hall of Famer.
Yes, we'll talk about that for sure. So there's a lot of I think it's one of the best leagues. And tomorrow we're going to go through. Tomorrow on the show here, we're going to go through. I'm going to pick my team on the air here. Have some fun with it. It's actually a really fun thing to do, and we're getting more people this year than ever before. So I really hope you join it. It's a fun league. It's fun because it's real time scoring, which I love. And when you're actually watching the game, you can see your team changing. And for those of you who go DraftKings and stuff like that on night base, that real-time scoring can be a lot of fun. So we do actually pay money to do real-time scoring. So
unless you have the goalies I do, then the real-time scoring is not going to be
depressing. Yeah, it's depressing. But let's start with the show, and then we will get into more of that tomorrow. But in order to be in this league, you have to sign up by tomorrow night, I think it is, or Wednesday morning, somewhere in there, because obviously once the season starts, it starts. The way it works is you play another team every week, so that's why you have to start from the beginning of the season on. All right, ready? Here we go. Hello, Hockey World. Today is Monday, October 2nd, 2017.
I'm Michael Agello.
I'm Russ Cohen from Sportsology.
And I'm Eklund, and this is my Take a Boost. You're watching the HockeyBuzzcast on HockeyBuzz.com. This is the podcast that comes to you every Monday through Friday at this time to fill you in on the comings, goings in the hockey world. And when you have to do 31 team previews like I've been doing, and keeping up with Matt Duchene rumors and Jaromir Jagr rumors and all this stuff. Sleep is not an option right now. So take a boost. Only legal in 2 counties in New Jersey. Is getting me through. So
that's way too much of it to take at once. Just like
this is my hemlock.
So delicious, and absolutely, it looks like I'm drinking like a Guinness here, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah.
Tomorrow, I will warn people, I may drink a Guinness or something on air tomorrow. It's my birthday. If you're going to make me work on my birthday, I may just get drunk.
Oh, jeez. Russ, it's your birthday. Wow.
We'll do shots on the air.
All right, there we go.
Some kind of
I actually do have a vodka that I'm supposed to review. Maybe I'll review it on the air.
My wife just had the best vodka in the world. She said, what's it called? I'll get it for you.
Grey Goose?
No. This is like the crazy vodka that was so expensive. Remember I talked about the story? So expensive.
Oh, yeah.
We found it, an entire bottle of it for the same price it was in the hotel that we were in Miami. But she just swears by the thing. There's one in our freezer, and it's a cool bottle. It looks like a block of ice,
okay,
shaped like a block of ice, and it's in our freezer, and so it literally is the coldest thing you'll ever want to touch. But yeah, it's really she just swears by it. So anyway, she's a vodka drinker. I am not. So okay, so let's get let's get going here. We have 2 teams to review today, but before we do that, we got to mention the fact that Jaromir Jagr has signed a deal. Kind of hinted towards it yesterday when he tweeted about a picture of his cat with a bunch of money around it.
And I retweeted. First, I retweeted something like, making it rain. And then this morning I retweeted fat cat, #FatCat. For a lot of different reasons.
Yeah, I mean, there's no question. Those are really, I thought to myself when I saw that this is getting done, and then there was an article that came out today that earlier this morning, actually, it said he's going to start his Czech team. And like, okay, well, maybe not. And I was just as I was sitting down and writing my preview of Florida, I was trying to think of some kind of wacky prediction for Florida. And I thought to myself, maybe I could make the wacky prediction that Jagr somehow returns, And just as I wrote that, sure enough, he signs with Calgary. So I didn't actually put it on. It's not on my blog, so no one can rip me for it. But, you can rip me for it in your mind if you'd like, because I was thinking it. But yeah, I was thinking that why not? I actually thought I heard it came down to Ottawa and Calgary. And this is the first time, for those you keeping track at home, that Jagr's played in Canada.
Yeah. Here's the interesting question. I brought it up to Mike off air. Like, if he was a baseball player coming back at his age, not having to play any of spring training, they would put him in extended spring training and let him stay in Florida for a couple weeks. I don't think working out with your team in Kladno is even the same as playing NHL preseason.
Yeah.
Yet I get the feeling that Calgary is not going to have him play in the AHL for a couple weeks.
Yeah, he's not going to play in the AHL.
Well, I mean, they could have him just be the extra player on their roster for a week or so just to get him up to speed. I mean, that's being sort of half joking because he's never up to speed anymore. But I mean, he apparently is a workout fiend, and obviously for him being able to play in the NHL at age 45, he's got to be in top shape. So, I mean, we'll see.
That's never the same as playing in the game.
I agree.
Like as an example, the tournament I was just at, I had a conversation with a lot of different people, and we all agreed that what we were watching in the NHL preseason was not even close to what we see in the NHL regular season. Not even close. And we all know that.
Yeah, I think we do. I think that's
so again, you could do all the simulations you can want. You could go play in Kladno against the best they had to offer.
Yeah.
It's still not the same as regular season NHL as far as being in shape.
No, I mean, levels, there are so many different levels. There's so many different levels. I think this weekend also, another rumors the Canadians were definitely working hard to try to get Matt Duchene. I don't think that's going to get done before the season starts, but it could. I mean, there's definitely a lot of motivation there for both teams. We talked about it on Friday on the show. It would I was told it would include Galchenyuk in the deal. There wouldn't be a defenseman that you would really like a recognizable defenseman. So Colorado's not getting exactly what they wanted for Duchene, but at least they would get a change of culture, change of scenery type situation, and they would get somebody who could potentially be somebody. Galchenyuk, Galchenyuk has an upside definitely, and I think he's been misused a lot in Montreal. So I think that's and also St. Louis was involved with Jaromir Jagr. Although I heard that kind of ended when they signed Scotty Upshaw.
Wait, I have breaking news.
Go ahead.
No, this is actually interesting breaking news. So, the Flyers have waived Matt Reed.
They waived Matt Reed. Okay.
And if he clears waivers, they'll get $1.025 back in cap relief, and he will be in the AHL.
I guess this means that Lear beat him out, huh?
I guess Taylor Lear has beat him out.
Yeah.
I think Taylor Lear's better than Matt Reed, and I still question Taylor Lear's ability to finish. So now we'll see. He's going to get another 10 games or so, and if he doesn't come through, I kind of wonder what's going to happen with that.
I mean,
the indicator, going back to Jagr for a second, the indicator that I had heard this morning was, from I think it was Darren Drager of TSN, was that Jagr informed St. Louis that he was signing in Calgary, that they were still talking, even after they had agreed to Upshaw, because Upshaw is basically a third, fourth liner at most. I mean, Jagr can still score. Upshaw is not a roster filler, but he's not a top
two contracts. I don't think they wanted to do both those contracts. I mean, I understand it was captain after Upshaw, but I'm not so convinced that they didn't have a strong indication of this before they signed Upshaw. Like, I feel like they were talking, from what I was talking to, they were talking already to Jagr's camp and got the sense that he was already pretty far along with somebody else. And this was on when Upshaw signed, which was on Friday, I think.
Now, just going down the list, and not everybody obviously, but going down the list of notables that were put on waivers today, I thought Malcolm Subban from Boston was pretty interesting, because he's a young goaltender. He really hasn't come through yet, but I mean, that
unfortunate luck situation going on with him. It seems like just like the bad situations that he's been put in.
Yeah, Jordan Binnington was waived by the Blues.
That is surprising to me.
Yeah, that one is surprising.
That's a real shocker because he was the next one. He was the real.
Yeah, I thought he was. He still could be for somebody else. That's the funny thing.
I mean, that's somebody that, I'm sitting back and I'm thinking to myself, if I'm the Red Wings, I'm looking at Jordan Binnington big time.
Well, but
that's somebody that I would.
But the Red Wings, that they waived. I mean, and I don't think he's going to get claimed. But there were some people yesterday when they waived, or today when they waived Jared Careau, who won a Calder Cup last year with Grand Rapids. Only 25 years older. People saying he's going to get picked up. They kept Mrazek and they kept Jimmy Howard. So
I wonder if they knew about Bennington. I wonder if they knew about Bennington when they waived.
I wonder. Careau is still very much unproven, right? He just came out of college. He played a little bit last year. Like, he hasn't played enough games. And unless Detroit was going to eat salary on one of those two goalies, which then they lose an asset, they're not going to do it.
Thomas Yurko with the Chicago Blackhawks. David Booth, who was signed off of PTO, is put on waivers to go down to Grand Rapids. So that's
actually a bonus for Booth, right? Because at least he's going to get to play if he wants to. A lot of teams would have just released him outright.
Yeah, well, the thing was, Russ,
just released him from the PTO.
I mean, he was playing in Vladivostok last year. So would you rather play in Vladivostok or Grand Rapids?
I'm going Grand Rapids.
Grand Rapids is a great town, by the way.
No.
I'm just saying. Of all the places when we toured as a band, I know. Cap Neo's watching; he's laughing right now. Anyway, when we toured as a band, Grand Rapids became like almost like one of our top 3 places in North America to play. Like, it was the people there and the way we were treated there, and just the whole feeling of that city was so amazing. Yeah, I would definitely rather play in Grand Rapids.
Kirby Reichel from the Maple Leafs, who I personally think is going to end up getting claimed. Because he led the Marlies in scoring last year. He's in his early 20s. He's a physical player. He played for Bob Bugner in Windsor. I just had this weird feeling that the Panthers are going to claim him, but he could sneak through. But he's a young enough guy that I think teams out there are going to take a chance. Ryan Murphy was waived. Steven Gianta was waived. I mean, Patrick Nemeth from Dallas. I mean, there's some names here. There could be some claims put forth tomorrow at noon.
There could be.
Quick on Matt Reed to finish that up. Yeah, I do think there will be, actually. I wouldn't be surprised if Florida didn't get in on Bennington, too. There's another one. I was just got a text about that.
Well, I mean, it's a question of whether Luongo is healthy because they're going to carry 3 goaltenders. I mean,
they have Wilcox. Wilcox is pretty good talent too, right? Didn't Florida pick up Wilcox?
Yeah,
but he's a little bit further away, isn't he?
No, he's not that. Not really. No.
All right, maybe I'm wrong.
I mean, that would be the only thing that makes sense if they claimed a Binnington or a Subban, one of the goaltenders out there. That would lead me to believe that Luongo's hip was not 100% healthy. Now, I haven't heard anything. I think he played during the exhibition schedule, so I wouldn't think that that's a concern, unless they're concerned about James Reimer being able to play as many games as he's probably going to have to. And that would be a dramatic or a change of course after they signed the guy to a 5-year deal last year.
Yeah. And to be clear, Binnington's played more pro games. I just think Wilcox, he's played enough games even in college to show me that he's sort of on the Alex Lyon track.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Who's been impressive, for the Flyers in the preseason. Matt Reed, just the last thought on Matt Reed is, there's such a great person, and had a
great story. I remember when he broke in,
incredible story. And if this is the end of his career, he's had an unbelievable career, really. I mean, I'm not saying this is the end of his career, but if he never were to do anything else in NHL hockey, he's done way more than I think he or anybody else would have ever thought he would have done.
Absolutely.
And he his big thing was he could score goals for a while there. His speed.
He had 20, 25 one year. I mean,
great penalty killer. He was a huge player but always in the shadows on teams, on the team.
Yeah.
So, but good enough that they would keep him. I really thought when they got Bellemare, I thought that was the natural kind of replacement for Matt Reed. But then, of course, he got picked up by Vegas.
Like the last 3 years, we thought Matt Reed was getting replaced, right? And it just finally.
Matt Reed had lost a lot of his effectiveness. I mean, it had become obvious. But there's nobody nicer, and I really wish him the best altogether. I mean, there's really no better person out there.
Yeah, just to touch on with Toronto, they're still at 26 players. Most teams have cut down to 23. It could be because they're trying to wait till the absolute last moment to sneak people through waivers. According to the reports coming out today, they're encouraging Roman Polak to stay with the team and practice with them. They haven't offered him a contract yet, but I think if they're doing that, they want to sign him. It's just a question of working out certain things with other players. They're probably going to carry 14 forwards and 7 defensemen. So one of the Swedish free agents that they brought in may be sent to the minors. But the interesting stuff that came out from Lou Lamoriello was the league still has not told him whether he can put Joffrey Lupul on long-term injury or not. They still have not clarified the second physical that he needs to have to clear up the questions about his health. And it was supposed to be resolved, at least the reports were saying he was supposed to be resolved before the start of the season. Well, the start of the season is Wednesday, and they still haven't resolved it. So the Leafs can get under the cap even without Lupul going on long-term injury, but it's going to severely limit them because his contract is over $5 million. So that'll be something to watch over the next couple days.
I do want to point out, too, in last night's Flyers preseason game, which I wasn't watching because I watched the Mets get destroyed by the Phillies 11-0 in the final game of a season that
shocking
made me sick to my stomach. Anyhow, back to the Flyers. Shane Gostisbehere took a massive hit in the first period, never came back in the game, seems to have –
Well, I saw him late in the game in that game.
Really? I thought he didn't go back in.
No, he was back.
Okay, but there is talk that he still might not be able to play for a game or two.
That might be true, but I did see him. I saw him in the – I mean, I had family obligations, so I was here, but I turned it on in the third period. And I thought I saw him. Maybe I'm wrong. I
don't know, but there is talk now that he may be injured, and if he is, then the Flyers may have to start with 3 rookie defensemen.
Yeah, it might be confusing. Game. Sorry, I watched the game the day before that too, so I might be confusing. It's been a blur the last couple of days. So yeah. All right. Yeah, hopefully he's okay, but that would mean that they have to keep all the guys up.
All right. Well, Gostisbehere is on the flight to San Jose, so that. Yeah. Probably means he'll get a look. It still doesn't mean they won't carry the 3 rookies with them, though. They still might bring them all.
Well, they got a couple games out there. They're not just, on the West.
Yeah, and that's the thing. They may need to bring them all because it's not as easy to recall guys when you're on the West Coast.
Yeah, they might just want to keep them with the team and keep them with the team trainers and stuff like that. So it's very possible that's what's going on there. But, yeah, they'll have to keep the other guys with them for sure for now. which is good. I think the other guys deserve a shot. And Gosvier, actually, I saw the game I watched. Gosh, I guess I'm so sorry if it wasn't yesterday's game. It's so funny. Like I was on the.
There was a game Thursday too, I think.
What was all right? Yeah, I was watching it. All right. Anyway, yeah, when I saw him, I was impressed by Gosvier. Actually,
I think that was Thursday.
Thought he looked better than I had seen in a while, and he was definitely making rushes and looked like he was jumping into the play a lot more. I think that might have been Thursday. Man, oh man. Anyway, yep, that's what happens when you're stuck in constant phone hell. Anyway, so we've got to get on to teams today. We have Winnipeg and Columbus to end with. Let's start with Winnipeg. These are two really intriguing teams to me in similar ways, because I honestly think I'm much higher in Winnipeg than you guys are. I think just from our talking about it so far. I think this is the Jets' year, and it's just in a way it's just a hunch. But let's look at the Jets first, and then we'll get into our predictions on them. Okay, this Winnipeg Jets team last year, finished in 5th place out of the playoffs, just behind Nashville, 7 points behind Nashville, so not really just behind Nashville. Goals per game, they were 6th in the NHL. This is a high powered offensive team, and goals against per game 27th. They did some things to address that, and also just getting back some healthy players will help that too. But for 6 goals in game, their power play percentage was 18th in the league, which is really weird. Usually those numbers are much closer together. So it definitely tells you that their power play was a lot worse than it should have been for what they had. Penalty killing percentage was 26, so their defensive statistics were just not good overall, and they made some changes, of course, there.
And I think that had to do with goaltending too.
Yeah, a lot of it had to do with goaltending. They had, they felt like they had a couple good goalies last year going into last year. Remember we talked about, who's going to play, and then they ended up, sometimes the goalie by committee thing is no goalie at all, like we've talked about, sort of where they were last year. They went and picked up Steve Mason, who we've seen for a long time here in Philly and watched plenty of times, and he can actually steal you games. And a lot of the success the Flyers have had the last couple of years
is because of him,
because of Steve Mason. Yeah. So he is going to bring a stabilizing force there if he plays all the time, or he plays a majority of the time. And that's been Steve Mason's issue in his entire career, has been when he is splitting time with somebody, he's not nearly as good as him being like a guy who plays literally all the time. Like when his backup is hurt, Steve Mason will thrive. That's usually how it's been working with him in the NHL. So right now he's got Hellebuck, who's a good goalie behind him. Potentially a good goalie,
He is, and actually Mason's already starting to help him a lot, is what I hear. And that's good because, sometimes when a goalie isn't ready, the best thing to do is bring in a guy like Mason who really doesn't have a huge ego and actually can be a big help to a kid like that.
Yep, for sure. Their main pickup this year was actually they picked up a couple free agents. Actually, the main free agent they picked up besides Mason would be Kulikov out of Buffalo. Who to help add their defense, but the main thing on their defense will be getting back Tyler Myers, who really, just losing him last year was a dangerous thing for them. It just affected them. The combination of losing Tyler Myers is such a big net presence, and not having good goaltending did them in, basically. So, but this is a team with a ton of first round draft picks, a team with a ton of prospects, and I think that they're pretty solid. I mean, they're still a little bit unproven. I actually like their defense a lot, with Trouba, Enstrom, Dustin Buffalo.
I can't like it a lot with Enstrom on there. Let me just say that. I mean, Enstrom, the last 3 years has been going down, getting worse. Like, if you're going to talk about him being like your still a power play guy, last year on the power play, he had 6 assists and he didn't even have a power play goal. The year before on the power play, he had 1 assist and no goals. Like he's really become one of these non-factors, but they're paying him $5.75 million. Right. So I think him, Kulikov, and Myers are going to either make this a good defense or a bad defense. And Myers meaning if he gets hurt, and Kulikov meaning if he just doesn't have it anymore.
Well, I mean, Kulikov in Buffalo, he was victimized by an injury in preseason, and he was never the same. He had back problems all year. I think he's at least a top at least a 5'6" and could be a top 4 if he's completely healthy. But the question with me is Myers, his health, and as you said, Russ, Enstrom is not worth the money that he's being paid. And honestly, Dustin Byfuglien is not a good defensive defenseman. He's a force physically. He's offensively very creative. Yeah. He's got a big shot. He can be a presence in front of the net on a power play. But defensively, he is almost inept. And they play him major minutes. What they should be doing is accentuating the role of Jacob Trouba, because I think he's their best defensive defenseman, and he's a very physical presence. But there's a guy who still I think doesn't want to be in Winnipeg, and that situation isn't probably going to be resolved this year. But if you look at this team overall, their offense, I think they're the Toronto of the Western Conference. They have so much depth in terms of offense with Little, who they recently re-signed, and Wheeler, and then the young guys in Ehlers and Laine. I mean, it's a very, very good offense. And I think that the addition of Mason could be stabilizing, but as you guys know from Philadelphia, he's inconsistent, and he continues to be that. Like, he'll play 10, 15 games where he's out of this world, and then he's a sieve.
Right, so, but I will say this, that is true.
I don't think that's true. I don't think Mason is ever bad. Like Mason.
No, but he's inconsistent. I think it's true. Like, I think
great or good, but he's not a sieve. You can count the goals that Mason, the bad.
No, Mike didn't say he was a sieve.
He said he was a sieve. Yes, he did.
Did he? Did you say sieve, Mike?
I said he had moments where he's a sieve.
He doesn't. He doesn't let up bad goals.
I think I've seen him. I think he does. But I mean, I've seen him against Toronto where he lets in 6 goals. I mean, every goaltender has a bad game. But the difference between a top echelon goaltender and somebody who's sort of middle of the road is Carey Price normally doesn't get, slammed for 7 goals most of the time. Guys like Steve Mason, who I think is in the top half of NHL goaltenders, every once in a while will give up 6 or 7, and we'll have stretches where he's average. When he's hot, he's one of the best goaltenders in the league. But I don't think he's a top echelon goaltender because every once in a while he's a sieve.
Here's the thing. I will say this about Steve Mason. Like, when you look at, his save percentage, it is sort of like average to almost below average. Last year, .908, even after the 10-game winning streak, that's below average for the NHL.
Yeah, no, it is. No question.
In his career, he's a .903. But he had some really horrific years in Columbus. His last 4 or 5 years have been good, where you would look at his save percentage, probably around .920. So he is where Mike says he is. The thing is this: he can really give Winnipeg confidence that they didn't have last year if he starts out hot. Now, he might go up and down, like Mike said. But the idea is, if he starts out hot and let's say goes on a 5-game winning streak, that really could propel this team. And I think that's a lot of what they need is confidence. I think offensively they have confidence, right? Scheifele will probably be in the top 10 in scoring. Right. They have confidence that way. But when bad goals are giving up and all of a sudden you're losing your game with your goaltending, a team could really suffer from that. He could add that confidence back.
And I think that the one concern is, as you've noted of him in Philadelphia, Russ, when they were sort of like platooning him and Neuwirth, he never really got going. It was like when he was given the ball, he ran with it. But when they're not going to play Hellebuyck 20 games, they're probably going to want to play him 25, 30, maybe 35 games. And if it's a strict platoon, a 1A, 1B scenario, I don't think Mason will be as good as if they played him for 55 or 60 games. So that could bring down his numbers in Winnipeg.
Well, here's the thing, and this is something where Eck could argue. One year when Mason with the Flyers was voted 7th in the Vezina, he actually got to play 61 games. Right. He never got to play that many games after that. It was 51, 54, and then last year 58 because of necessity. So the coaching there almost made it less possible for him to get on track, knowing the kind of goalie he is, where I do think with Winnipeg now he's going to have more of a chance to get on track, like you're talking about.
Yeah, I think that's true. And I think with Mason, you have to – he's the kind of goalie that if he plays a great game, you don't – like sometimes you'll just have a goalie will play a great game and then you'll go to the other goalie and then you'll come back to it. If you keep Mason going when he's playing great, you're going to get a lot out of him.
Yes.
And I don't disagree, Mike, that there aren't times when has tougher games, but he is generally the thing about Mason is he's not spectacular either way. He's not going to make it was over the last 3 years. I think if you were to ask a Flyers fan, okay, remember all the Steve Mason great saves, remember all the Michael Neuwirth great saves. People are going to tell you they remember a lot more Neuwirth great saves, even though Mason played a lot more games. But you can also remember a lot. There's a lot of games where Mason was just. They would lose the game 2-1 where Mason was unbelievable, that kind of thing. Or they would have a game where, Mason got on his teammates a lot in Philly. That was the one. That was the thing. I think what got him out of here was the fact that he got on his teammates quite a bit. He was really, and I think that was because he lost a lot of these games that he played really well. He lost, and I think that frustrated him to no end, especially 2 years ago. And it was really an issue. But I think as long as you keep with him when he's hot. He's going to steal you a couple games.
Yeah.
And he's not going to lose you many games, even when he's not hot, but he's not going to, there are goalies who let up, like I've seen goalies that just let up terrible goals, that are great goalies. He's not really that goalie really for the most part, in my opinion. But I think this team, what's really fascinating to me about this team is the fact that, they really do have two stellar lines. They have two first lines, like you're saying, Mike. They don't have the depth I think that Toronto has on their third line, right. Or their fourth line.
But their offense is pretty diversified. I mean, we're going to see it firsthand on Wednesday when they play Toronto in the opener. I mean, you've got a line with Scheifele in line A, then you have a line with Wheeler and Little. I mean, that's a pretty good second line. There's depth there. There's some physicality there. They bring in Matt Hendricks on a one-year deal. He's probably going to be a fourth line guy, and you've got some guys on defense who I think will be tough to get by, to get shots on goal. I'm just my area of being questionable here is the durability of their defense, the age in some instances, Enstrom specifically, and whether they can get the consistency out of the goaltending.
Right. Yeah, I think that's true. Looking for something weird with this team before we move on and to our predictions. I think this is the most diverse nationality team in the NHL. Like when I went through, I was just going through. It's pretty crazy. Like they have, when you look at the flags on this team, if you're checking it out, you have Canadians, you have a Danish player, right? In Ehlers, you have a Finnish player, you have what's Dano? Dano is Austrian.
Well, no, I'll check.
Trying to remember what that. I can't remember what that flag is. You have a Russian player. You have a Swede. You have obviously Americans and Canadians. You have almost all the countries of the world that play hockey are almost related to this team in some way, shape, or form, which is interesting. They really are a diversified.
He's Austrian. You're right.
It's Austria, right? Yeah, Marco Dano. So this is a really, really when you look at it, there's almost no country, save maybe the Czechs, I guess, maybe, that aren't represented on this team. It's pretty crazy. So part of me wonders if that has something to do with Winnipeg itself, and the kind of people they get to go there. They get people from a lot of countries that are already used to living in incredibly cold situations and stuff like that. And, they get a lot of these people who are, who don't find Winnipeg that offensive to live in because of the weather. I know people in Winnipeg, they love living in Winnipeg. So I always hate when people rip on Winnipeg, but it is true that they have a check, in Michael Space.
Wait, so you're saying they have good weather in Winnipeg? Is that what you're saying?
I'm not saying they have good weather in Winnipeg. I'm saying that I know people who love living in Winnipeg. So.
Wait, whoa. I mean, they may like the area, the surrounding area, the community, but they're not saying, hey, we like the Winnipeg weather. They're not saying that.
No, they're not saying they love the Winnipeg weather.
Okay.
They tolerate the Winnipeg weather.
Right. Okay.
And they take a certain pride in their weather. But
I can see that.
Yeah, that's for sure. So predictions. Mike, playoff team.
They're a borderline team for me. Right now, I would say no. But I think that if they get that, if their defense is consistent, if they get the goaltending, then they're probably going to be a wild card team. But I think they're a very chic pick right now. Right now, I'm still a doubter, so I'll say no.
Are you calling me chic, Mike?
No, chic.
I know you're calling me chic. That's what I said.
Oh, okay.
I don't think anybody's ever called you chic.
I haven't heard many people picking Winnipeg. Are there other people picking Winnipeg?
Oh, no, there are people that are picking Winnipeg.
Okay, all right, good.
That picture that you posted on Facebook from high school, I guess that was not chic. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
But anyway, not that mine was any better. I'll say this. I think their offense is great. I'm worried about their defensive depth. Like, if we take apart just forgetting about who their top six is, and I'm looking at who they could possibly call up, there's not much.
Yeah.
They have more offensive prospects to call up than defensive. And based on that, I'm going to say they're not going to make it. They're going to be close, because I do think if they have an injury or two, it could put their defense in flux.
Right. Yeah, I agree. I would agree with that. That's a very good point. It's funny when you drop off when you get sent down from Manitoba. Where do you get sent to? Jacksonville, Florida. So if you're not on the Manitoba Moose, you're going to the ECHL.
That's an upgrade weather-wise.
Your ECHL affiliate is in Jacksonville, Florida.
Yeah.
I mean they have their AHL team right there. So I guess average distance from minor league franchise.
Although having spent just like 4 days, which seemed like a month in Jacksonville, I'm not sure that's a huge upgrade.
Yeah, there's a lot. I mean, yeah, that's not my favorite city in the world. But anyway, yeah, I'm with you on that one. I think they're a playoff team. I think they're a top 3 team in this division, and I will get to more specifics on that tomorrow when I go through the Central Division in my blog. But yeah, I definitely think that they are. I think they are that good, and I think they will be the surprise team of the Western Conference this year. And not because I'm reading other people, because I really honestly haven't read any other predictions purposely to try to find out what's going on with this.
Well, I don't think you'd find any that match that.
Good.
Just to be fair.
I mean, Mike said there's chic predictions.
No. I've heard some people predicting the Winnipeg Jets to make the playoffs.
But top 3, like top.
Not
3?
top 3. No, that's
what I'm talking about.
To make the playoffs.
No, I'm talking about top 3. Now he doubled down on the playoff part and went top 3.
I don't.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't see the top 3, because I think Dallas is going to be in the top 3. I think Minnesota probably is going to be in the top 3, and I think Nashville or Chicago will be in the top 3. I
don't see how they get in the top 3. That's what I don't see.
Wild card is a distinct possibility if everything falls right.
It is.
But, hey,
yeah.
I picked Ottawa for last place last year, and they finished, and they were a goal away from finishing the getting into the Stanley Cup final. So
don't worry, Mike. Nobody remembers that.
Because you keep bringing it up, which I like. All right. Going to Columbus. Okay, the Columbus Blue Jackets, our final prediction, our final preview of the season. The Blue Jackets, last year, this team finished in 3rd in the Metropolitan Division, and were quite often in top of the Metropolitan Division for a lot of the year, because they got off to an incredible start, as you all remember, setting a record for winning streak. Their team stats, their goals per game were 6th highest in goals per game, which I think is really surprising. Like 6th highest goals per game. I knew they're good goals against average, because Bobrovsky is great, and they were 2nd in goals against per game, but I wouldn't have put them at 6th unless I was looking at it. So they really could score last year, and they've added scoring in this offseason. Their power play percentage, their power play was 12th, penalty kill was 9th, which isn't the greatest for a second best goals against team. They have their big. Obviously, the big thing in the offseason for them was picking up Artemi Panarin for Brandon Saad in what was a surprise trade, I think, from Chicago's point of view. But Panarin, obviously, with a big contract coming up in 2019, and they're already with a pretty good sized cap hit now. The Blackhawks were afraid of where he was going to go, and Saad, I think the Blackhawks felt they needed to get back to their basics a little bit. And Saad has played so well with Taves in the past. They definitely went that direction. Panarin, though, comes onto this team, in a really interesting team and a really young team, the youngest team in the NHL. Columbus, still the youngest team in the NHL, and with really great players that are young, like Wenberg, who recently signed a contract, and I thought they got him for a really good number.
They did.
4.9.
That was good scouting. Like, Wenberg got hot in his draft year, and I saw him shooting up the charts maybe like 2 weeks before the draft, and so I got to give the scouting staff their credit on that, because the fact that they nabbed a potential top line center like where they did, that's pretty good work by them.
Yeah, I totally agree, and they've done a good job at not spending too much money on this team. Right. In general, like Cam Atkinson. You know, he's going to be a UFA this summer. He's going to be a big one if he doesn't get signed by Columbus before that. I would expect him to get signed, but if he doesn't, he's going to be he's a serious player, Cam Atkinson. You know, they definitely need a rebirth from Boone Jenner this year. He's a huge important player for them to have. He had an off season last year, you know, considering, but they don't have any guys over 30 basically on their offense, with the exception of Brandon Dabrinsky, who's, you know, still only 31 and still really solid. We'll see Pierre-Luc Dubois this year.
Yeah, it looks like Jenner may miss opening night with a back injury, just so you know.
Yeah, that's bad because he really needs to get going.
Yeah.
But Pierre-Luc Dubois, what are your thoughts? Do you think he's going to be ready?
No, he looked great. I mean, he's had 3 or 4 goals in the preseason for whatever that's worth. But I thought he looked. See, here's the funny thing: the metamorphosis of Pierre-Luc Dubois is interesting because they drafted him where they drafted him because they want him to be a center, right? So he went back to juniors to be a center. He had already dominated being a winger, had a really good year, but in the middle of while he was transitioning to his center, he played in the World Juniors. I thought he played great. I thought he played great defense. Yeah. I saw physical play. I saw great skating, but he didn't score a lot. So then all of a sudden you get the tag on you. Well, look, he's picked so high and he's not scoring. And so, like, you know, so I start hearing murmurs out of, you know, fans, and not Columbus fans, just fans in general. And so, like, this year, you know, we're seeing, hey, he comes into camp. Now he looks the part, really does look like a center. So good for Columbus. I think the transition was successful, but I'm still seeing tweets like Aaron Portzline, hey, if he doesn't make the team, is he a bust? Like, in no way, shape, or form is Pierre-Luc Dubois going to be a bust, even if he's not ready for the team this year. But I do think he is.
Yeah, I think he's ready. And I think if Boone Jenner is out, it might give him a little more time, too, as well.
Yeah.
What I'm curious about here is John Tortorella and Artemi Panarin, because Panarin is one of those creative players. And, you know, we know from back in Tortorella's past with guys like Gaborik, you know, he's more of a guy who wants his soldiers to go out there and play his type of game. Yeah. And if you're somebody who freewheels and creates like Panarin does and did in Chicago, I don't know whether that marriage is going to work. I mean, I you know, the goaltending, you know, Bobrovsky, if he can stay healthy, last year he did, you know, a couple years before that, he's had big injuries that cost him games and points in the standings that hurt them. But if he can stay healthy, they have a really good backup in Korpisalo, who I think is a future #1 in this league. I like their defense a lot. Werenski had a great rookie year. Seth Jones, Johnson, Savard, Murray. There's depth on the blue line. And the addition of Panarin, I mean, Brandon Saad scored for them. So I don't know how much more Panarin will score than Saad, but you know, he you know, his ceiling could be higher. But they do have some forwards that I think can, if they score at the level that they did last year, they'll definitely be a playoff team. The Josh Anderson situation is still unresolved, and Bob McKenzie is tweeting out this morning that this is a weird negotiation here.
Yeah,
Anderson wants a 1-year deal. The team wants 3.
Right.
Anderson wants the 1-year deal at under $1 million so he can improve his resume, put up numbers like he did last year. He scored 17 goals. If he puts up another big year, then I believe he goes to arbitration, and then they'll have to pay. They want to get him locked up for 3 years at under $2 million, and that gives them cost certainty. But the problem is the player wants to make money. So this situation could end up with him getting traded, or with just a standoff and he goes to Europe or something like that and plays for the Canadian Olympic team. So I think they need Anderson. He's a piece of the puzzle, but they might have enough with Dubois coming in and with other forwards in their system to get by. But this is a team that I think that needs all hands on deck for them to repeat what they did last year.
Yeah, I think they do too. And I think Panarin is going to, what he really gives them is skill. Like they really, you know, Sam Gagner was a big player for them last year. And, you know, he actually helped them a lot more than I think they were even willing to admit. And I think one of the things Sam Gagner did was a skilled player, you know, who just had flat out skill. Panarin has flat out skill. Wennberg obviously is a skilled player. Atkinson, these are skilled players, but they didn't have like a setup, like an out and out sniper skilled player, which Panarin has the potential to be. Saad's more of a workman like goal scorer, you know, where Panarin will score some pretty goals for you. And And I think that matters in their market too. I think they really wanted to have some more excitement brought to the team. I think that mattered to them as well. And and they see Panarin as being dynamic, and Gagne was very popular there because he was dynamic.
And similar to one of the teams that we follow on Hockey Buzz very closely, Nashville. I think Columbus is a franchise that will explode once they slay the dragon that is the Pittsburgh Penguins. That has been the team that they've lost to twice in the playoffs that they hate. And if they can beat them, then I think they ascend to a higher level, just like Nashville when they swept Chicago. And I don't know, after 2 years,
Chicago for Columbus, actually, it's pretty funny. Like Columbus went from Chicago to Pittsburgh when they switched conferences.
Well, and Detroit too. Detroit was that team as well. They're always matching themselves up against teams, this established teams. But the geographic rivalry now between Columbus and Pittsburgh, I think, contributes to that. And honestly, I think this might be their best opportunity coming off the year that they had last year, with Pittsburgh coming off 2 straight Stanley Cups with potential for a Stanley Cup hangover, with players who have played 2 extra months the last 2 seasons. It might be the opportunity for Columbus to, if they do match up with Pittsburgh, to lay a whooping on them in the playoffs.
Yeah, it's hard to tell.
So here's what I think. I look at them, and Nick Foligno is back to being a center again. So this is like the John Tortorella specialty of moving players around. And we're going to see now, like, this is going to be an important thing for them because, if he's playing center and if Boone Jenner is out, does that mean that
Dubois starting on the wing?
Dubois starting the wing? Maybe. And so
and Nick Foligno is not a center. He's never been a center.
No, but they're going to play him at center. So now we're going to see how that works out. I do believe the offense is good enough no matter what. Defensively, they're pretty strong. They are. And actually, the fact that they have guys that could come up like Scott Harrington, that's really good.
The guy that I really like, and I saw him only briefly last year, was Gabriel Carlson.
Gabriel Carlson looked good last year. I saw him.
Big, rangy defenseman with speed. And, that's a nice skill set for.
I liked him out of the draft, and he looked good coming through Philly. And so, yes, Gabriel Carlson will make the team. So you look at him and you say, even offensively, if there's an injury like Sonny Milano's waiting. So they've got a lot of guys, and Jordan Schrader's out down there who could fill in for little spurts, who showed last year that he could still be effective filling in here and there. So, I look at him, and this is the problem. I do New York radio, and when I say that the Islanders could be last in this division, people scoff at me. But this division is so good now that 4 teams will make the playoffs, and then maybe a 5th of the wild card. I don't think so. I don't think a 5th of the wild card is realistic. So I look at Columbus, and I think they are going to be 4th in that division and will make the playoffs. But I think that's when you look at a team like the Islanders, Carolina, the Devils, and I think the Devils being better really makes it harder on every team in this division. There is no easy game in this division. There's no team that you would look at. There's no Vegas. There's no team that you look at where you say, if we don't play our best game, we could still win. There really isn't. This is the one of the better divisions in hockey. Goaltending wise, it's funny when you bring up goaltending wise. Now they're clearly right near the top. They're somewhere 3rd, 4th in this division in goaltending, but the Flyers and the Islanders have the worst goaltending in the division until proven otherwise. Or maybe Carolina if Scott Darling didn't come through, but I think Darling will be okay. That's the goaltending in this division is crazy.
Yeah.
But you're going to have to face on almost a nightly basis. So even though Columbus has gotten better, so has everybody else. So I think they'll make it, but I do think they're going to be 4th in this division.
Yeah, I think they're a top 3 team again.
And you got to tell me who's not in there, because that's the hard thing to do. Tell me who number 4 is then.
Can't say yet because I've got that coming up on my thing. But
okay.
I think that Washington, Pittsburgh are ahead of them. So that's why I think Washington, Pittsburgh are ahead of them. So that to me,
but
I feel that way. I still think the Capitals and Penguins are the 2 best teams in the division.
With those teams, when we did the previews, I mean, maybe I'm over accentuating the effect of being in two straight Stanley Cups, but I think that that with the loss of Fleury, with the loss of Bonino, I think Pittsburgh will be obviously a playoff team, but I also think that they're going to be, they may get off to a slow start and they may not win the division. Washington, there's been a mass exodus in Washington. I mean, I think they're, I mean, in that division, I like Pittsburgh. I like Washington. I think Columbus is a playoff team. I think Carolina is dramatically improved, and I think the Rangers are a playoff team. But one of them might not make it because, there's probably going to be a wild card coming out of the Atlantic. So of those 5, the team that I think probably misses out with their roster the way that it's currently constituted is Carolina, and I think Columbus or the Rangers will be the wild card, and the other one will be in third place. But that's not saying that Washington and Pittsburgh can't take a step back and Columbus or the Rangers can vault up to second or first in the division. The division is going to be pretty close. So it's going to be a matter of, I bet you those 5 teams will be 10 points apart.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think they will be too. I think they will be really tight. I think you're looking at 5 teams that are really close. I do agree with that. And it's just going to be a matter of goaltending and, like Russ is saying, I mean, that's going to make the difference. And, even like down to like backup goaltending where they're going to have to get extra.
It's a crazy division. And like, no offense to Flyers fans, but if you think your team is making it, then you got to tell me the teams that don't make it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's for sure. And that's a really, I mean, I do think you're with Pittsburgh. I think you're downplaying the addition of Jake Getzel. I think that's right. Going to be an enormous player for them. And
he's going to be a big player.
And he's already off to his preseason was unbelievable. Following from his playoffs, which were unbelievable. He's just a great player.
He was a huge player in college. He has managed to put on enough strength that in the NHL, he's now doing everything he did in college, and that makes him a dangerous player.
I mean, it's like adding a player like that to this team is just It really feels unfair, It's like they really are just.
And it looks like Daniel Sprong's going back, and that's fine. I mean, let him be right. You don't want to put him in the wrong situation. So, yeah, Pittsburgh's going to be in it, and anybody who thinks the Capitals is not a playoff team is not really paying attention, regardless of their changes. So then, are you telling me the Rangers aren't a playoff team? Like one of these teams, like you said,
I know
who is not a playoff team. We'll
get to it. We're going to get to our predictions in the next 2 days, and we will talk about it for sure. There's a teaser for you guys. All right.
We do have a little bit of other news.
Go ahead.
So the Islanders did put in a bid on the Belmont property, but it's a long process from what everything's being written. James Dolan's a part of it. Fred Wilpon is a part of it.
Wow. Oh boy.
Yeah.
That won't be a team that gets to the cap ceiling.
So again, this all affects the John Tavares negotiations,
Does that mean that Bernie Madoff is going to be part of the ownership too?
No, Bernie can't be a part of it. So this is an interesting thing. So now we have to just sort of wait and see what's going to happen with this. But yeah, it's one of these things where now we don't know how long it will take.
No, wait a second. Dolan, doesn't he already own a team?
Yeah, but it doesn't mean he can't be a partner in this.
Yeah. The ownership group of the LA Kings is involved in building buildings in Kansas City and in other places. So that's
when you own the team that's their direct competitor. I mean,
doesn't matter. It says right here, MSG owner, president.
We're talking about a league that when there were 6 teams in it, 3 of them were owned by the same family.
Oh, I know. But I'm just saying though.
But you understand, like owners, like back in the day when Charlie Finley owned the A's and the Scouts, and he owned a piece of a football team, and all of these guys own pieces of things. That's what they do.
Yeah.
So he's part of it. It says right here, MSG owner and resident Jim Dolan is just one investor in the Arena Act Managing Group. Sterling Properties is also that's Fred Wilpon. And
the underlying thing here, Russ, is that if Dolan's part of this, that the opening act at that building is going to be Jim Dolan's band.
It could be. But what happens is they put together a partnership group, and everybody puts their money into a circle, and they say, let's do this. Because, again, it's not just an arena. It's an arena complex.
Yeah, I get it.
That's going to mean more than just an arena, right? It's going to mean probably places to eat, maybe some place that he could play, a venue for his band, and things like that. So
they're going to build a Buffalo.
It'll all feel perfectly normal, right?
So they're going to build a Buffalo Wild Wings outside of this place?
Well, all right. So talk about perfectly normal. Like when in recent memory, when hasn't an Islander game had a ton of Ranger fans anyhow? They do.
Now you're just trying to get fighting. Now you're just trying to fight.
I'm not. I'm just saying this is a fact. It is a fact. And
I'm not saying it isn't a fact, but you're just trying to fight people now. That's just.
I'm not trying to fight people, but you're saying it's weird. But I'm saying this is.
I'm saying if I'm an Islanders fan and Tavares signs with the Rangers, and Dolan's one of the.
All right, well, let me ask you this.
I'm upset.
So, as an Islander fan, are you hoping this arena falls through because you have an owner of the New York Rangers involved and then may have to move? No.
Jim Dolan is going to have etched into the foundation of this new building, Potvin sucks.
No, he's not. But I'm just saying, Eck, what do you – I mean, this is their best shot right now.
Throwing myself into Montauk Island Sound is what I'm going to do. That's where I am if I'm an Islanders fan, because this is
this is their best shot.
This is your best shot. That's not –
It's crazy, but this is their best shot.
Say hello to the Videotron Center in Quebec City.
Yeah. No, I mean,
owned by Molson.
So we'll keep an eye on this, and then we do have to.
Might as well the Molson brothers might as well buy the Quebec Nordiques, and then you'll have the same situation going on.
We do have to acknowledge the passing of Dave Strader too.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I'm so glad you brought this up, because Dave Strader, I probably listened to Dave Strader more than any other announcer as a kid, because like my dad was a Red Wings fan, and we would listen to the Red Wings games on AM radio all the time. So when I actually got a chance to meet Dave Strader, I was thrilled, and I talked to him for a long time about the impact he had, and he became such a good guy. He's always a good guy, but he was such a good guy to me, and I became a little bit of a friend, where I would see him all the time. And you remember the story because it was a real impact. Dave Strader was a big part of my childhood, and I know a huge player in this whole community, and I'm so glad you mentioned it, because it is very, very, very sad, and he fought really hard.
He did.
And it's a shame that we have to lose another person. This, hopefully.
Well, a little bit of a more uplifting note. There was a report that mentioned that UNLV coach that he is out of surgery and they believe out of danger.
Oh, good.
So, let's end on that positive note.
Yep. Okay. Remember to. We really appreciate you subscribing to the podcast here, telling your friends about it. And the next couple of days will be fun here at Hockey Buzz. We're only a couple of days away from the actual beginning of the season, which is really exciting. So that's Wednesday night, and then this whole week, just great games. So we look forward to talking about actual games.
Hockey is back.
Yeah, I look forward to all my previews being done. That'll be great too. Remember, without the buzz, it's just hockey. We will talk to you tomorrow.